Welcome to the UK Made Easy podcast, where we help aspiring international medical graduates like yourself achieve their dreams of passing their Plab 2 and practicing medicine in the UK. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the UK Made Easy podcast. My name is Saif and I'm very excited today to be joined by Dr. Elle, a brilliant UK Made Easy candidate who just cleared her Plab 2 examination one day before the date this episode is recorded. Now, Dr. Elle has worked so hard to put a happy ending to such tragic year. We've just been chatting about her excitement, not just for clearing the exam, but actually because she's tying the knot before this year is over. Now, Dr. Elle's ambition does not just stop at that, because she is determined to become the most competent neurosurgeon she can ever be. And today, we'll be talking about her experience preparing for Plab 2, her impressions about the exam, and the lessons that she learned. Now, stick around till the end, because she's going to share some advice about what to do on exam day. So, hello, Dr. Elle. How are you doing today?
Hi, Dr. Saif. I'm quite good today. Yesterday got the results and I was quite good, so I'm happy.
All right. Walk me about how you felt when you got the results.
Right. So like in WhatsApp groups and things, I just saw people typing congratulations to, other people. That's when I clicked, okay, it's Wednesday and that's my results day, right?
Uh-huh.
So usually I do have this, feeling of worry when I check the results. Okay.
Yes.
So I take lots of deep breaths when I do that. My Plab 1 results, and I was very worried when I was doing that. But this time, I don't know. I was not so worried, actually. I just went to the GMC page, logged on, and, I didn't take a breath. I did not breathe till I saw the pass. And it felt good. It felt good to see it.
That's awesome, because as far as I remember, like I've talked to a number of people who passed the exam, and everyone was so anxious before the results, and they were just waiting for the results, and they keep refreshing the page over and over and over again until they see the word that they passed. But obviously it's been totally different for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And do you think you have any reasons as to why you've been so relaxed about the results?
I don't know if it's the case with other people. I don't know, but a lot of people scared me about the exam. Actually, initially, people told you it's a completely different experience when you go there. It's nothing like we think, and I don't know. It felt better for me.
Okay.
I felt it was a better experience for me than the mocks that I did before, or practicing with other people, because the simulator kind of helps you out. They have they direct you towards the kind of questions that you should be asking, and I really don't think it's so much to worry about.
Let me ask you. Let me try to rephrase the question, maybe so that we can get like a better perspective. Like, have you felt this relaxed when you've been anticipating the results for the Plab 1 exam, for example?
Yes.
Okay. So obviously it's something related to you. You are a relaxed person. You like to take things easy and you do what you have to do, because I know that you put so much effort into it, and then you leave it up to the fate. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
so?
I guess. I think so, yeah. And it kind of helped me out this time, yeah.
That's beautiful. And is there, like for our listeners, because again, like many people struggle with waiting for the results. And I have to include myself too. Like I haven't been this relaxed waiting for my results. And, do you have any pointers for people who are anticipating the results? Like what are some of the things that you did that made you relax?
I think, I think after you finish the exam, it's done and dusted, right? And I know it's not the same for everyone, but I try to distract myself, and it's lockdown and there's not much things you can do right now.
Absolutely.
But then there were so many things that I missed out on, like for the last 2 months when I was preparing, right? So I was catching up on the shows and things like that, and I don't know, I got distracted.
Right.
It was a good feeling, yeah.
So it would be fair to say that Netflix had a huge impact on you.
Yes, I think so. Especially The Crown. Yes.
Okay. I haven't got the time to watch that yet, but is it good?
It's awesome. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the new season, I think so. I'm waiting to watch that.
All right. I'll put it on my to-do list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one of the things that you've mentioned, and I was meaning to ask you this throughout our conversation, is that role players have been helpful. Can you kind of, because people are like, there are always mixed opinions about that. Some people say that they are helpful. Other people say that they have not been that helpful. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. Okay. So what I felt was like when we practice with our friends, or maybe in mocks or something. It's really different because maybe they feed you some things that, takes you to that kind of direction, right?
Right.
So, but in the exam, what happened was, I think they do want you to get the diagnosis, right? They do distract you, okay? They do distract you here and there, okay? But then, like, if you are going in that wrong direction, they will bring you back. That I experienced in some stations.
Okay.
So that's when you realize, okay, maybe that is not important. Maybe I should focus more on this.
But I think it really comes down to the candidate as well, because you have been like kind of trained enough to figure out that maybe that's not the route that you should be going down through.
Right.
But people wouldn't necessarily be able to get it.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, when I'm always asked that sort of question, what I would say is that it really comes down to the candidate. Like most of the role players are really helpful, but they kind of give you clues here and there about where you should go and where you shouldn't go. But some people are not trained to the role players that they don't pick up that clues, and that ends up to the role player, even though they're trying to be helpful, but they've done their part and the candidate has not been able to pick that up, so they just go with the flow.
Yeah, I think so. That's quite true.
And if we can rewind back for a bit and you can walk me through what made you opt for the Plab pathway anyways.
I grew up in the UK, like I did my schooling and everything here.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so I did my medical school in India. And after my parents are here, my parents are doctors here.
Okay.
So I think maybe I was a bit homesick a bit later. And I always wanted to do surgery, right?
Surgery? Wow.
Yes, I always wanted to specialize in surgery, I meant.
Okay. Does it have to do anything with your parents?
Not really.
Not really.
My parents are dentists, so
okay.
Yeah. So then I think maybe like doing internship, like in a house internship job, I realized that surgery is something that I like to do. And always I noticed that, countries like USA, UK has always a better advanced training in surgery, right?
Definitely.
So that's one of the reasons I guess I chose to go for Plab.
So it was quite natural for you because you were returning home and you wanted to practice medicine. So obviously Plab was the pathway that you should go anyways, was it?
Yeah.
Right. And how different do you see it in comparison to other exams that you previously sat for during your medical training?
Right. It is really different because I am a fresh graduate. So the only exam I did was my medical school exam still now.
And that was back in India, wasn't it?
Yes, that was back in India.
Okay.
And it is really different because definitely you have to go through all the history stations and history and the whole step. But what happens there is that I don't think they give much importance in my home country to the consultation part. You're getting more marks. It's like on the viva afterwards, like the examiner will ask you so many questions and things, right? You have to know the theory more than the application part.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's quite different here. Yeah.
And when you mentioned that it was quite different, obviously you sat for other oral examinations. That's what they call them in medical school, where you have to answer specific questions from the examiner. But this time is different because you're doing a role play. What was what were the challenges that you faced when you first started preparing for your Plab 2?
The challenges was firstly, it was so different, right? So you have to be quite careful about things that you say and not saying, right?
Tell me about
Especially what you say.
Yes. You can never take it back, can you?
Exactly. Maybe that's one where you lose the station if you say the wrong thing, right? So you have to be quite vigilant of what comes out of your mouth.
Absolutely.
So you have to think before you speak. Quite very important here. And the Plab is marked in so many different ways, like IPS, the data gathering, and the management. So in very less time, 8 minutes, it's really not enough for a consultation, right? So fitting everything in 8 minutes was really a challenge for me.
You know how I would like to put it is that how much you can take off without affecting the quality of your consultation.
That's
that
right.
Makes sense?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So your job there is not just to kind of blurt everything that you know about whatever condition that patient is having.
Right.
It's how much you can take off without affecting the quality. And
that could be
and the reason that kind of stood out for me is that I've seen so many kind of preparation notes and what have you for when I was preparing for my own exam, and I was like thinking to myself, this is too much talk to fit into the 8 minutes. And when I started like practicing using whatever I found, it was like it's almost impossible to fit that in and allowing the patient to have their input as well. And that was kind of the first thing that kind of stood out for me when I was preparing. I was like, I need to make it a two-way conversation. There's no way that I can say all that I want to say. And,
right, exactly, yeah.
And what I always say is that in the beginning, if you can remember, in the beginning of our courses, what I say is that it would be safe to assume that you'll only be able to say 60 to 80% of what you know about that condition. And your job is to make sure that those 60 or 80% does include everything that is essential for passing the exam. Did you experience something like that, like walking out of the station and thinking to yourself, oh my God, I should have said this, I should have said that because I know it, but maybe I didn't have enough time? Did that ever happen to you?
Definitely. Yes. You won't believe there was, I think, 2 stations I forgot to ask about allergy. It's quite important, right? We do it, we always remember that when we practice. But in the real exam, I forgot to ask allergy. And you know, that's something I really
think to yourself, this is a no-brainer. I've done this throughout the practice. It's not one of the things that I forget, but you did. And it happens.
It was a basic thing to ask.
Yes.
You will feel bad. I mean, I think it's natural that you will miss out. I mean, it still happens even in your real consultations, right? There are things that you will forget.
True.
But
I think
in an exam, you feel worried. Sorry.
Exactly, because of the time frame, and you need to impress and deliver everything that you know, and that kind of pushes us sometimes into speaking way too much and not allowing our patient to have their input as well. Okay.
Right, exactly, yes.
And what was kind of, again, we're not talking about any specific stations or any specific scenarios. That's not our target here. But if one of them, you mentioned IPS, and throughout the exam, it does make a difference according to what you said and according to what other people say. What is the most challenging part, if there is something that you can walk us through? Where your IPS kind of shined and made quite an impression.
Right. I think it was in like AntiPatient Station.
Angry patients. Okay.
Yeah, any AntiPatient stations, okay, or a medical error station, for example. You have to really be humble, really humble, and I think it's that kind of station that's completely on your IPS, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to be so convincing that the empathy or the sympathy that you're supposed to put in, it should really come out. You know, it should not sound fake. You know what I mean? Because people have this kind of stock lines that you put in.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. When even their facial impressions does not express how they're feeling. Like there's complete dissociation between their body language and what their tongue is saying. And yes, absolutely. Yes. And
I think one thing that helps is like, you know, if you just, you know, think that the person that's sitting in the other side, you know, if you think about it, like, you know, like someone in your family, what would you want to hear if you were in that seat? Like, you know, or your mom that would want to hear in that seat. If you think it that way, I think it's easier, you know, to put the right sentences in the right words. Right. In fact, for any stations, you know, you can avoid using jargons or anything like that. If you try to think, how would you like to hear it? So, like, you know, your parents would like to hear it.
I think another way of rephrasing what you just said is that treating the situation as if it's a real life situation instead of a play that is happening. Then you'll be able to feel what the patient is worried about, what they're angry about, and maybe you'll be able to reflect back what they've said and maybe deliver some empathy. So while I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about our listeners, and I'm thinking you talked about managing angry stations, and if you're talking to someone who's actually still preparing for the Plab 2, what would be the some of the ways that you would say they could work on their IPS, for example, like their empathy? What was the most helpful for you?
I think that, like I mentioned before, like even you mentioned, like think of it like a real life situation, and what would you want to hear at that point of time, right? Try to put that words in. I think that's how I did my IPS.
Right.
And try not to use the usual kind of sentences like I'm so sorry. I think there's like around 32 candidates coming in, right, on a day, or I don't know how many number there are right now. Everyone will be saying the same thing. You have to sound different to the person before and person after you, right? So don't use the kind of same lines that everyone has been using, because most academies and things like that feeds you some lines, right?
Right.
So try to be, innovative.
Give us an example. instead of saying you're sorry, what would you say? I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. I just want our listeners to get something that they could maybe
I think it depends, right? It depends. I can't say on right now because it depends on the situation there, right? So if it's something like, they miss the work or they miss a holiday or something, or, you can have that expression should be there, and then you make that kind of maybe some really, make an expression and say something, oh, I'm sorry, that must be annoying, isn't it? Right. I'll try to see what I can do for you, okay?
I can almost see your face when you're saying it. I can almost see your face when you're saying it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And using your body language, it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And my next question, you already answered it, which is what is it that you hope to achieve after your registration? And obviously you want to work in surgery, which is such a big ambition, and I wish you the best of luck in that.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much.
Anything in specific in surgery that maybe you want to pursue?
I love neurosurgery. It's the most challenging thing, but I love neurosurgery.
That's a whole level. Okay. Okay. Good luck with that, Dr. Elle.
Thank you.
Right. And how long did it take you preparing for your Plab 2?
Okay, so there was a lockdown and things. I could have studied, but I had no motivation to study during that much time. And, my exam got, postponed and things. So I wasted a lot of time. So what happened was I attended, I was one of the first batches in the UKME EC. Okay. So I attended my first impression of Plab 2 was from UKME EC. And it was a very good impression because I got a really good idea about Plab 2. And to be honest, I attended all the classes, and after that, my exam was cancelled right after the course, right?
Yes.
So I took a long break. I didn't study.
What was it originally supposed to be?
It was in September. It was supposed to be in September. Okay. And I attended the course in March, I think, right? March, right after my Plab.
That was our first batch. So, yes.
Yes, I was the first batch. And I took a long gap then, and I think my the booking came in August or something, so I booked it like in midway of August to November, and so I think I properly started studying from mid-September.
And you were full-time studying, like you didn't have a job or anything?
No. I went to the gym every day. I had my wedding in December, so I was planning for my wedding also.
Oh, okay. I Congratulations. I think we talked yesterday about that and how excited you are about this, and I'm really excited for you. But I'm going to take you up on the biryani that you're going to make when I land in the UK.
Yes. Biryani.
Yes. Okay. And so from your estimation, what would be like a reasonable time for any candidate to kind of prepare for Plab 2 and be kind of confident? I know it depends from one person to another, but someone of your caliber, what do you think is a reasonable time to kind of prepare for Plab 2 from the point where you don't know anything about Plab 2 until the point when you're ready? Obviously, no one feels that they're completely ready for the exam, but when you're kind of confident that you can conquer this.
Right. So to be honest, like you said, it really depends on person to person. And, people will tell you this set of time, but obviously it varies. And, people did scare me. You need this much time to practice and things. And, it did worry me. So what I would like to say is you can't be underprepared, or you should not be overprepared also. Both are quite risky.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's what I feel. Like if you're underprepared, you won't have the confidence, right, to perform well. And if you are overprepared, you will sound scripted. I think that's what I feel.
Yes, I love how you put it. Yes, even people who are original, but they've over-prepared for the exam, it doesn't really serve them, does it?
Exactly. So I can't really say much about that. So I think put the right amount of time where you can practice enough. And you can finish all the stations.
And again, I'm very impressed by mentioning practice because I think up to this point, it's one of the things where many of the people kind of neglect, thinking that on exam day, as much as I know the information, as much as I have the medical knowledge, then I'll be able to navigate the conversation. And sometimes they rely heavily on their language skills. And I think that's the right question for the right person, because you are someone who's lived in the UK almost your entire life. So you don't have any language problems whatsoever when it comes to expressing yourself and what have you. But like using that language, your language in that context, did it take, how much practice did it take?
I think I practiced properly for 3 weeks. I did.
2 weeks.
But 3 weeks. I practiced properly for 3 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But,
And when you say properly,
yeah.
what does properly mean in your?
What I meant is like, so I started to, like I did attend the UKME EDC course, but then, I didn't, I did have an academy, but I didn't attend the academy actually. I didn't have time to attend an academy. I went to the academy only to do some examination, mannequin stations and stuff, right?
So you actually
to practice on the mannequins.
To another academy and you didn't have the time to actually go there.
No,
Wow.
I wasted my money.
Okay.
But, yeah. So, I only went to practice there actually. So, what I would say is, I didn't have much time. So if you have time, you can do at least 1 month. 1 month is good to practice. And even I think 3 weeks I did maybe because I think, yes, like you said, language did help me out a bit.
Yes, of course.
I was quite privileged that way, I would say. But, I think, 1 month is quite the perfect time to practice.
And, during those 3 weeks, like how many hours would you put in practice on a daily basis?
I am the most laziest person, Dr. Saif. I won't do it the whole day. So I went to the gym and also I think after I come back, maybe around 4 hours, I did it every day, properly practicing.
4 hours. Wow. That's,
4 hours.
Yeah, that's not.
And less.
Go ahead.
And rest was self-study. I did self-study. And, what happened was, cause I did the UKME EDC Academy like in March, right?
Yes.
I wanted to, revise everything. So I did join one more batch. And I was watching the videos, everything to revise everything that I studied, right?
Yes.
So I took time for that and I could only practice for around 4 hours a day.
Right. So you watched the videos, maybe read the notes and then you practice on the same day. So it was kind of split between reading and practicing. Good.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
A lot of self-studying I did too.
And I'm sure that during your practice with other people, you managed to mingle with people whose English is not maybe at your level. Do you think that English as a language in general could be a barrier, or could people who are less privileged to have your kind of accent, maybe have your kind of explaining themselves, be as well competitive when it comes to this exam, despite that their English is not maybe up to the level? What do you think about that?
So I won't lie, definitely language and, maybe accent also will add, give you an advantage. Because the patient might understand you a bit better. That is quite there. But it is definitely not a barrier because I know so many people who do really well, right? By maybe practicing or picking up the language faster and getting the IPS on point, with practice. And practice is the very, the most, the only way for that, I would say, to fix that if you have a language problem, because once you're used to saying and, it will come naturally a bit later on.
But probably it would take much longer for someone who's got maybe their English, they're still working on their English to do much more practice than someone probably on your English level like yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And from your experience, like what were the best practices that proved to be invaluable in your preparation efforts? Apart from practice, we talked about practice. What else kind of stood out for you?
Mocks.
Right.
Mocks is the best thing that you should be doing, especially like around 2 weeks before the exam, because see, when you practice with your friends, they will be nice to you, right? They won't give you the right concept of distance that you need to get.
Yes. Everyone is trying to be nicey to everyone. We don't want to hurt each other's feelings. And yes, absolutely. I remember that you've done a few mocks with us, haven't you?
Yeah, I did, yes.
Okay. And when it came to the UKME EDC, you already said that you subscribed to the first batch, and we're very happy to have you. And one thing I need to add is that we love our candidates and we really care about them. But sometimes because people kind of take the time to be courteous and say please and thank you and that sort of thing, we cannot kind of help but give specific attention to those people. And you happen to be one of them. Like I remember, when you texted me and you said that you have kind of 2 weeks going and you needed some pointers on that. And Actually, I did take the time because I really cared about how you did, and I saw you as an awesome caliber that should be getting the highest marks ever. And yes, you have no idea how grateful I am that we're talking today and you're telling us about how you did it, and the fact that you did it in such such a constriction of time, like 3 weeks of practice. That's in my perspective, that's so little time for practice. Yet you managed to squeeze in 4 hours on daily basis, which is not little in any form of way. And you did manage some studying as well. So, again, thank you for taking the time and kind of walk us through how did it work for you. But when it came to the UK Made Easy, what was the addition that you had the most from your subscription to our courses? Was there anything that kind of stood out for you?
Right. So thank you so much, Dr. Saif, for that motivational message that you sent me that day. Right, it really helped me out. And all of you guys, Dr. Nada and Dr. Ahmed. I remember Dr. Ahmed was in the first batch. He taught us pediatrics, and Dr. Rami, right? So I'm close to all of them, all of you guys. So I messaged you all, I remember, for the exam, like asking everyone's ideas about how to crack it.
Definitely, yes.
And everyone gave me their own inputs about it, and I did try to implement all that. And what I would like to tell, people listening to this is, all four of them are so dedicated, right? And they really follow up on how you're doing for the exam, right? So, and you guys were so approachable. Any messages, you guys will reply that day itself. So any doubt, you will clear it. And then you will ask us, like, did you understand what we meant? So that is, I am grateful for that a lot. Because having the right mentor, I think that's one more thing I would want to mention. So having the right mentor is really important. You won't easily get that anywhere. So there's lots of mocks everywhere available. And, it's not necessary that you get the right person to tell you the right advice. And right advices really matter in an exam like this.
Absolutely.
So with UKME, the classes, right? So there was all like 4 teachers. So we got 4 a perspective about the exam from 4 different people, which matters.
It does matter, specifically when it comes to your practice, because everyone's got their own take. And yes, we beat in major guidelines or main things that we shouldn't be kind of disagreeing on, but again, everyone's got their own approach.
Right, exactly, and that matters. It's always good to get collective opinion about the exam from people. And so they all told you about how to approach some stations from their own point of view, right? It helps. It's always best to get something like that than just a single person, right? Because obviously everyone has different approaches and different techniques. So if you get a few of them in your pockets, it's good to use that.
Absolutely.
And
go ahead. Yes.
And the mocks also, it was like the mocks that you guys conduct. I don't know if anyone else does it like that. It was like the exam, like, they put you in a cubicle and things and moving on to the next cubicle and all. So it was like the exam experience. And, it really helped me kind of, be calm for my exam. And I think that is really important in your exam. What happens that day? You need to be calm at the end of the day, and you need to have your presence of mind. So you need to train yourself very well for the exam day, right? And that mocks is the only way for that.
Kind of build your endurance, just like what you do at the gym, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much for the beautiful testimony. And you've always been one of our special candidates. And again, I'm very happy that we're having this conversation for the time being. And I'm very happy that you're getting married. Obviously, it's a big day for you. And just managing to have like that time and kind of squeeze it into your day when you're obviously very busy preparing for the good times to come is something that we really grateful for. Thank you very much, Dr. Elle. It's been absolutely my pleasure. And if there is one final piece of advice that you'd give to the listener who's preparing for Plab 2, what would be that?
Right. So my main advice is on the day of the exam, right? So be on the day of the exam, right? Like I mentioned, have your presence of mind, pay attention to everything that the patient says, and address the concerns. More importantly, right? Than trying to finish your station and then you trying to say everything that get the person to talk. Okay. So I think that is the most important advice I can give, because at the end of the day, how well you do in the exam matters, right? It's all about that day. So,
yes.
So That's my biggest piece of advice. I think someone should have told me that before. Yeah.
Well, very well put. Thank you very much, Dr. Elle. It's been our pleasure. Again, on behalf of the team, I wish you the best of luck on your special day. And hopefully you'll get to meet when I land in the UK. And you'll show me around, since this is your home anyway. Yeah?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Thank you very much. And
thank you so much.
Be more grateful for making a friend, because again, this is one of the things that I've always talked about when it comes when it came to my Plab 2 journey, is that I started this out wanting to pass this exam, and then I figured out that throughout the journey I made so many friends from so many places, and we still keep in contact, and everyone is so excited when something great happens to another person in the network that I've managed to make just by preparing the exam and maybe doing the courses now in the mocks and what have you. It's just mind-blowing for me.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Thank you very much, and have a great day now.
Thank you so much. Yes. You too, doctor.
You too. Thank you.